Hello my fellow Space Noids and welcome to the Xeon Remnants channel. And in today's video we're doing a first time video that I'm going to be calling the evolution of. It's basically going to show progression of a much older version of something and how it is today. And in today's video we're taking a look at action figure model kits. And we're going to use the example of Perfect Cell. On the left you have the new Bandai Figurize Perfect Cell model kit. And on the right you have the Irwin Toys Perfect Cell model kit. So basically what we have is
old and busted, new hotness.
So we're going to go over the differences between these two model kits and the massive progression that can be seen in this example of a very early version of this model kit to the current version. And granted, they are different companies, but the time in which these two models came out is completely different as far as model building and things of that nature, what we expected from figure model kits. So we're going to go there. We're going to take a look at the old Irwin Toys Cell. Now this came out in early 2000s, I want to say 2003. And this is actually the first model kit I can ever remember building. I bought it from EB Games, which in the US I believe merged with GameStop. And this was one of the first things. I didn't even know it was a model. I didn't know what it was, but I begged my mom to buy it, and she did. And I got it out, and I was like, okay, you got to put it together. This is cool. At the time, I really liked building stuff. I wasn't a Lego guy. I was a constructs kid. I love constructs, and I love building and drawing on stuff, so I took my shot. Now you can tell this was a long time ago, because I don't know what I used to get these parts off, but I mean, the nubs are horrific. Which brings me to something that we're going to go into and talk about. The plastic quality on these old kits is much different than the Perfect Cell kit of today. The quality, it's a lot more, obviously, it's a different finish. It's very glossy. It's a bit harder than the Perfect Cell from Bandai, and therefore the nubs are a bit tougher, a bit larger. And so that's a big difference. Also, the articulation on this is horrible. At the time, I thought it was the greatest articulation ever. Because that's when, figures really didn't have elbow articulation as far as Dragon Ball Z figures go. And this one has elbow articulation, but it's literally just boop, 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 boop. I have no idea what that's supposed to accomplish, but it's horrible. Can't really put his arms up at all. Has 360 that way at least. But nothing too crazy. And to be honest, if the articulation is not really that much changed really. You got your ball joint and your stick, and then you got your little poly cap in there, and it goes in there. I think that's a poly cap in there. Could be wrong. Leg articulation is not bad. But again, that knee bend sucks. And if you look at the leg, it looks like he has a Charlie horse. His muscle rolled right up his thigh. And then there's nothing here. It's just very weird. Another thing we'll look at is the seam lines on this. Now, we'll take a look here at the model kit. And the seam lines are in the muscles. So it kind of hides them, which is really nice. I like that. Of course, you have your, seam line on the side, which is something that is really kind of difficult to avoid in most cases. But if on this figure, you just have big seam lines going down the side, going down the middle of the arm. And if you look here, there's no seam line going down the arm. It's a very, where they have the line, it's at the bicep, so it's great because you cannot see that seam line. And it gives a more realistic quality to the figures. And just the actual look of this Perfect Cell model kit, it looks like somebody pretending to be Perfect Cell, whereas the Bandai model kit actually looks like a model anime version of Perfect Cell. The colors on this are a lot brighter. The leopard painting is good. It's nice because it's not the same on both sides. They could have easily just gotten away with having them exactly the same, but they didn't, which is nice. And then you have the wings in the back and his little stinger creepy thing. And then there's no accessories with this guy. No different hands that I could... and maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember there being alternate hands. There was no effects. There was no stands like we have today with this. You know, of course, this is not something that comes with Perfect Cell, but it is something you can buy for your Dragon Ball Z figures or any kind of figure that uses that type of connection. So as you can see, this really just looks like a toy, not really anime accurate as far as the look, the muscle structure, the colors, things of that nature. It's kind of like just a good approximation of what Perfect Cell should look like, and it looks like a toy. And it's, you know, glossy and all that. And of course, you could paint it and make it look a bit better if you wanted to. Whereas on the new model kits, all you have to do is just add some maybe accentuation, some shading, and you're good to go. But looking at that, and then we'll get Perfect Cell off his stand here. Looking at that compared to this, I mean, this is just insanity how good these model kits are, you know. And I'm sorry, my cell's coming apart because he's been sitting around. But I mean, and this is one of the faces that comes with this model, but just look at the level of detail in this model. So, you know, some of the, you know, big major differences, of course, is the actual body structure. The muscle mass on this new Perfect Cell looks amazing. It looks anime accurate. It gives him that good definition. This is just big blocks. The other thing I like about this is that you have that, you know, muscly looking pieces in his joints like he actually has. And while granted, you do have them in the waist area, you don't have them in the elbows, you don't have them in the knees like you should. And also another thing I noticed is if you look at the faces of these model kits, there's a huge difference. The Perfect Cell from Irwin Toys, his face is very small. It's mostly covered by his helmet piece here, and it's just a regular face painted like Perfect Cell, whereas with the Bandai model kit, it's obviously, again, more anime accurate, but you get more of the face, and the face looks like Perfect Cell. This looks like a bad cosplayer. I mean, and just the proportions and things like that that are so important to nailing the representation of an anime character. If you look at this Perfect Cell from Irwin Toys, I mean, his chest is just huge, humongous, and it goes down in a weird, very thin slope, whereas Cell's chest, you get defined muscle definition, and it looks like a regular chest and not some weird... This looks like, I mean, and this is two pieces slapped together on each side, so it definitely looks like foam cosplay on a Perfect Cell cosplayer at your local Comic-Con or Mega-Con, whatever. So that's definitely one thing. And they went about doing the leopard spots in a different way. These pieces are two separate pieces. You have your dark brown pieces or whatever, dark green pieces that are like little jigsaw puzzles, and they go right through the holes on the chest, the legs, the crotch, arms, all that stuff. So you really get this really good definition of these pieces, especially if you look at that. I mean, it looks amazing. Articulation, there's no comparison between the two figures. Oh, I see, popped his arm off. There's just no comparison. I mean, you get the elbow all the way up there. His wings even move around and rotate a little bit. You got articulation in the head and the bottom of the shoulder. His foot goes all the way up. You got, look at that, double bending knees. I mean, this was a pipe dream back in the early 2000s for any type of model to have this kind of articulation. Even Gundam models at the time really didn't have articulation like this. And just the accuracy of how this figure looks, the hiding of all these seam lines, the plastic quality is much different. It's muted. It's not as glossy. It looks like you grabbed Perfect Cell from your TV screen and you plopped them right into a figure form. And for the price, I mean, Perfect Cell's what, 20, 25 bucks? This looks just as good. Not as good because, you know, we do have Dragon Ball Z Figmas, but this is almost in the same scale for way cheaper than the Figmas. So if you have the patience to put this guy together, you spend $20, you spend part of an afternoon, you'll save what, 40, 50, depending on the actual figure. I mean, Frieza's really expensive, and his model kit is $20. The Figma figure is what, $80, $75? It's not going to come anywhere near close to $20. So not only do you get this in the model kit, but you get 2 alternate faces, alternate hands, you get key blast effects, and a really good representation of Cell. And if we put them right next to each other, I mean, the one on the right just looks like a Chinese knockoff. But it's not. It's this huge progression from model kits back in the early 2000s to the technology and the way we look at model kits now is vastly different. And model kit figures are really making a big comeback. Model kit figures weren't really a huge thing. Maybe for resin figures, but those are more statues for me. Resin statues, you know, like Queen's Blade and other anime, you know, and you gotta paint them and everything, and they look great if you paint them right. But they're not figures. And these new model kits with the Dragon Ball Z and the Star Wars model kits from Bandai that they've been releasing are amazing. It really makes you wonder, well, not wonder, it makes you think to yourself, is it worth buying a figure or is it worth buying the model? They're typically in the same scale, and, you know, the model, if you have the patience and you enjoy putting the model together, you're instantly getting that satisfaction of putting something together. Whereas a figure, you buy it, you get out of the box, you open it, you display it, you're done. So there's more of your inputs and crafting into a model. And of course then you can do the different things to it, and you can paint it and things like that. Well, you can do that to a figure, of course, as well, but it's more so in model making that people are more inclined to do that. Whereas if you just collect figures, you're not really inclined to go ahead and start painting your figures. And I really enjoy that model figures are making a big resurgence, in my opinion. I can't really think of any big IP that had model figures before Star Wars and Dragon Ball Z from Bandai started coming out recently, and they're getting very popular, and I really like it. And so you had this kind of first attempt back in the day for Dragon Ball Z from Irwin Toys, and it was a good attempt for the time. It was much better than the figures that were out, in my opinion. But now, 15 years later, whatever it's been, 12 years, I think this came out in 2003, so let's just say 12 years later, the progression is insanely large. It's massive. It's bigly, so bigly. Oh, that's horrible. I'm going to kill myself now. Anyway, it's just very impressive, and it's really exciting to be a Dragon Ball Z or a Star Wars fan or anything that's getting figure model kits right now, because it's making it more affordable for us to buy representations of characters that we want to buy. I wanted to buy Figmas, but once they started releasing these model kits, I'm glad I never bought a Figma, because now I have no reason to. And I already have Android 17 and 18 on the way, and I've already pre-ordered Super Saiyan Vegeta and Trunks, and I'm ready to get them and put them together. And I still have to put together Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Goku. So I'm really excited. I really like these figures, and just the differences are astounding. And this is cool because this is classic, but as I said earlier, old and busted, new hotness. There's literally no reason for you to go ahead and hunt down an Irwin Toys model kit unless you really like that old vintage look. If you like that old vintage look that didn't have a lot of posability, but it brought back memories of your childhood, fine, go ahead and buy the Irwin Toys Perfect Cell, which I think might be more expensive than the Bandai one because it's harder to find, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But last time I checked, the Irwin Toys one was more expensive. But if you're looking for a great representation of Cell, these new model kits are astounding, along with the Star Wars model kits. I mean, and it's just a really awesome time to be a modeler. We have so many things that we can, we have so many options now in this last couple years of building and things like that. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know, what do you think of these two model kits? These are night and day for sure if you look at them. What do you like better? Do you like that old vintage look of the Perfect Cell model kit back from Irwin Toys? Or do you like the new representation from Bandai with its figure-esque and anime-style qualities to it? High posability. What do you enjoy better? Let me know in the comments below. I certainly enjoy Bandai's new take on things. I love their Star Wars model kits, and I'm loving the Dragon Ball Z model kits as well. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, next time, this has been an episode of The Evolution of. Next episode will be Gundams. We're looking at the evolution of Gundams from early 2000s to now. How far we've grown. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below. As I said, subscribe for more content. And as always, Zik Zion!